Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to show you how I can take this little bit of cardstock and make custom gift boxes for these items. And you can do it too. With the holiday season upon us and all the gift giving about to begin, it's nice to know that you don't have to rely on store-bought boxes to give your gifts. Stick with me and I'll show you just how easy it is to do. When it comes to box making, there's really just a simple formula to follow for whatever size box you want to make. Let's take this first item here, which I'm going to make a box for. And I think that's most suited to a square box. So the first thing I do is I measure how high I need the box to be. Now this object is about 1.5 inches, so I've decided I'd like to make it 2 inches deep, okay, so that it's got plenty of room for tissue wrap or anything else that I might want to include in the box. As far as the width, it's just around 2.5 inches wide, so I think 3 inches would suit this. So the first thing I do with this is determine how high, so this is how high the box is going to be, and that is going to be 2 inches. How wide? So this is the inside depth. Inside depth. I know that's going to be hard to read, but so, and on the other side, the measurement is also going to be 2 inches. It's going to be equal sides. So that means our box must be at least 3, 5, 7 inches, and that is for the bottom. Now I'm going to show you a little trick to how to get the lid to fit properly over the bottom, and that is by taking a slither off of this box. So it actually means you're going to remove about 1/16 of an inch on both sides, on either side of the cardstock. So for example, this piece here, I would measure how much do I need. So let's just say this is 7 inches. I would take off 1/16 of an inch, and by a slither, I'm just going to show you, this is what I'm talking about. By making that bottom just that tiny bit smaller than the lid, that means the lid is going to fit over without rattling about or without actually catching on the bottom. So, because if you were to make the lid and the bottom the very same size, it's not going to fit. The lid is just not going to go over the bottom of the box without buckling it. Okay, now there is another way you could do this. You could actually take your measurements and make your lid that little bit wider, and it's usually recommended at about 1/8 of an inch. Also, you might be lucky enough to have a scoreboard that has those kind of measurements already built into it. I think Crafter's Companion has one, and I know that Hunky Dory has one, so that it automatically will make your box lid the right size. But for most of us that are just using a regular scoreboard, and we don't want to go maybe to the expense of buying something specifically for that purpose, this system works very, very well. It doesn't have to be exact, just so it's something along these lines. So there's our, so for that we're going to need, as I said, a 7-inch by 7-inch piece of cardstock because it's square. Okay, for the lid, I'm going to have that, I think, since I'm going to have it 2 inches, I think 3/4 of an inch would be good. So I want 3/4 of an inch depth, and then I need still 3 inches here. So 3 plus the 7.5, so we need, and 4.5 inches. So 4.5 by 4.5. Are you with me? So again, just to go over that again, 2 inches height on either side, 3 inches in the middle, gives us a 7 by 7 inch piece of cardstock with about a 1/16 of an inch cut off 2 sides of the card. 3/4 of an inch plus 3 inches plus 3/4 of an inch, giving us 4.5 inches for the lid, and that we cut exactly to 4.5 inches. All right, I'll show you how we're going to do that now. My cardstock is cut to size 4.5 inch square for the lid and 7 inch square for the bottom, with that 1/16 of an inch trimmed from this side and from this side. And now we're going to score it. And remember, we said for the bottom we want it to be 2 inches deep, so we're going to go and score at 2 inches, turn our cardstock, score it again at 2 inches, again at 2 inches, and a final time at 2 inches. And that is our bottom scored. For the lid, we determined that we wanted 3/4 of an inch in depth. So again, on all 4 sides, 3/4 of an inch will be scored, and then we're going to be ready to fold along those score lines and burnish them. So we'll start with the bottom. And both the bottom and the lid are cut in the same fashion. So by that I mean we're going to cut up these score lines here. So from the edge of the card up to that score line, that first score line, I'm going to free up those tabs like so. I'm going to do that on all 4 sides. And another thing I'm going to do is just to be sure that those tabs on the side aren't protruding from here. Once we get this in here, we don't want it perhaps, coming up like so, because it depends, on how you've actually cut it and scored it. So the best thing to do would be just to remove a little slither off of those tabs. So you can go in here and take a bit off. And if you hear any meowing in the background, that's Chloe. She's come in to investigate how things are going. So take that off there. Repeat on this side. And then we'll just continue on until all those tabs have been trimmed. So the bottom of the box will look something like this. Now it's time to move on to the lid. We're ready to assemble the box now. So for the bottom, I want to take our glue, and I'm just going to use this tacky glue here because it will dry a little bit faster. I'm going to put one side in, and again, take your finger, just be sure those are matched up on that end there. Yeah, that's a bit better. There we are. To match those corners so that they come at a right angle, and to glue this side as well. And remember, I showed you before, if you want that to dry a little faster, what you can do is just take your finger, push that glue out, and that'll spread it thinner, which means it can dry faster. And come in with your bone folder or scissors or ruler, whatever you've got, and just give it a good press down. Okay, so our moment of truth. We've got our little stamp here. Plenty of room for any tissues, or if I wanted to put a little card or a tag in there. And the lid just pops right over. And there we are. A little gift box. I'm going to move on now to this item, this little book here. And this is going to be a rectangular box, of course. So that means the formula is going to be the width and the length for both the bottom and for the lid. And again, we will remove 1/16 of an inch from the bottom measurement. For this, we need the width of the book, and I've already measured it, and I found that it was just under 6 inches. So I decided I needed 6 inches for that, the width of this. And for the length, it's around 8 inches, so I decided I wanted 8 1/4. As far as the depth of the bottom of the box, this measures approximately 1/2 inch. So I think 3/4 of an inch would do. So going to put that into my formula. So this means this will be 7 1/2 inches by 9 3/4 of an inch. And again, taking off that 1/16. So 7 1/2 by 9 3/4 is the first piece of cardstock we need. For the lid, we're going to need to determine how deep we want that lip to be, and I think 1/2 inch should do it. So I'm going to put in 1/2 inch for these measurements, and again it's 6 inches and 8 1/4. So this needs to be 7 inches, and the bottom, the length of it needs to be 9 1/4. So this piece of cardstock is 7 inches by 9 1/4. Okay, so let's get that together. So here are the pieces of cardstock for the bottom of the box and for the lid. So I'm going to score those, starting with the bottom. Remember I said I wanted it to be 3/4 of an inch deep, so score it at 3/4 on all 4 sides, just like we did with the other box. It's a much more shallow box than the other. So, and then here in the middle is where our box is going to fit. So you can see there should be plenty of room for that to fit in. And for our lid, this is going to be 1/2 inch deep. So 1/2 inch, 1/2 inch, Now, ready to put our little book here in the base, and our lid fits beautifully over top. So, and it gives us just enough room here so that you can easily grab the sides and take the lid off. And that is our rectangular box finished. The final box is going to be another square box. It's going to be a little bit bigger than we did before. I've determined that this is going to require a 4x4 box. So 4 inches wide, 4 inches deep. So that means, if we get our formula back out again, we're going to need 4 inches for the side going up. We need 4 inches for the internal measurements. And we're going to need 4 inches for the other side. And I've given it just that little bit of wiggle room. So this could be 3 7/8 or 3 1/2, but I've decided I need a 4-inch box for that. So that means 12 inches. So 12 inches again by 12 inches, and then 1/16 of an inch off on 2 of the sides. Now that's for the bottom. For the lid, I want to have a little bit of a reinforced lip on this, but I don't want it to be the entire length. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to determine I want 1/2 inch for the reinforcement part, and then I want another inch for the depth. So like on this one here, we had 3/4. I want this to be a whole inch, and then I want 1/2 inch that's going to fold over and come on the inside to reinforce it. So that means 1.5 inches here, and 1.5 inches here, and 4 inches here. So 4 inches plus 7 inches. So I need 7 by 7, and I'm going to score it at 1/2 inch and at 1.5 inches. Okay, I'll show you that in just a moment. Starting with the bottom of the box, which is the 12 by 12 inch that has been cut down by 1/16. I want to make my score lines for this at 4 inches, because remember we said we wanted to be 4 inches deep. So 4 inches and 4 inches. Again, 4 inches and 4 inches. That's the bottom. The lid, which is 7 by 7, we want to score at 1/2 inch because that's going to be the reinforcement, and we want to score it at 1.5 inches. Turn it again at 1/2 inch, 1.5, which gives it that 1 inch depth. Again, oops, 1.5. Now I'll show you something here, since I made this little error here, because I started to do that, and I don't want that to show as possible. So what you can do is you can take it, turn it over, and what I could do is just put it back in here, or in any of the grooves really, and where that 1/2 inch is, just go over it gently and push that cardstock back over, and it will pretty much disappear. So that was here, wasn't it? Yeah. It's the wrong one there. There we 1 inch. So if you push that back gently, push that cardstock back, and it starts to disappear. I need to go back and put my 1/2 inch back in. Took that out by mistake. So 1.5, and at 1 inch has been pushed back in there. So those fibers have been reversed. Okay. I need to do it on the last side, 1/2 inch and 1.5 inches. Now we can fold and burnish all of this. When it comes to a reinforced lid, it means that you're going to have this extra lip here. That could be the same size as this, or it could be half, like I've done here. But the principle is always the same when cutting the lid. Always want to release these score lines. Okay, release that one and that one, and always remove the rectangle and the square at the corner. Alright. And the other is to remove the rectangle here from the lip. So whether that's a square, if this were 1 inch, then that means that would be 1 inch square. Since this is just a half, it just makes it a rectangle. But take that off as well. And that leaves this little tab here. Okay, all on its own. And I'm just going to take a little slither out of this, just to make it a little easier to get all that in there. Take out the bulk. And do the same on this side. So again, come up that score line, come up this score line. You have these two released. Take this one completely off. And take this one off. And then you can neaten those up a bit with a bit of a wedge. Again, up the score line. Second score line there. Take that out. And take that out. And so you see now you have the shape for your lid, for the reinforced lid. So that means that these tabs are going to come in just like they did for the other boxes, except that there's this additional piece here that's going to fold over and give you that, just that little bit of reinforcement there. Okay. So apply the adhesive to these tabs. Again. Now I can come in with my bone folder and really press that down that side, and then again on this side. And now these little tabs here, I'm just going to fold them back to begin with and apply adhesive to all four. 1, 2, 3, and 4. And I can start to fold them in. And I'm going to go round with my bone folder and really get that glue spread out, and at the same time give those edges a nice sharp crease. So I like to go round it once and then repeat it one more time, because by the time I get all the way round, a lot of that glue is going to already start to grab. I changed my mind about the 12 by 12 cardstock that I had originally. It was a very flimsy, lightweight cardstock, because at first I didn't think I had any 12 by 12 white cardstock that was more along the same weight as the rest of the boxes, but I did come across this, so I decided to use it instead. So I've already gone ahead and cut it and done all the scoring, and I'm going to put it together quickly and then we'll put the lid on. Now we can take our little ornament, put our lid on, nice, so thick, you can see, and there we have it. So we have all three of our boxes, our rectangle, our 4 by 4 and our 3 by 2, 3 by 3 with 2-inch high size, I should say. There we go. These, and now you can decorate them. Also, if you have pattern papers, that would work. That would work very nicely, and especially if it were double-sided, so it would automatically decorate the inside of the box as well. But again, it's up to you whether you want to just use your plain cardstock or your pattern. But you too can make your own gift boxes, custom made, or whatever you want to give this season. So coming up now, I'm going to show you how I ended up decorating these. And here we have all three boxes completed and decorated using a Christmas theme. In this case, I've used some reindeer paper for the small 3 by 3 box. For a rectangular box, more of a Scandinavian theme with Father Christmas or Santa Claus on it. And then for the largest box, more traditional Christmas papers. So, thank you so much for joining me, and I hope you learned that it's really quite simple to make your own custom gift boxes, and I hope you'll do that this year. Thanks for coming, and I'll see you on the next video. Crafty hugs!